Stuart, glad to be back with you in studio again. We got a doozy today to talk about on this episode.
Oh, I love it. It's great to be here, my friend. So it's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. There is a lot of noise, misconceptions, ideas, people selling annuities. There's a reason why some people have had a bad taste in their mouth about annuities. I want to dig into that today and talk about some of the biggest misconceptions about annuities and potentially when they might be beneficial. Because again, there's some that are real bad out there, but others that are really great. And it all depends on your scenario.
So annuities definitely play a role, in my opinion, in some clients' financial portfolios, right? It's not one size fits all. It's not that everybody should have an annuity. It is an annuity appropriate for me? In my 36 years in business, I have seen that most people who bought annuities that are unhappy with annuities may have been missold those products. They may have, so oftentimes, I would say annuities in general are not bad, but there are a lot of bad financial advisors out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I've been doing public speaking for years. And just as we're talking about this, I was doing a program. In the middle of my presentation, this gentleman, raises his hands and he just says, I don't like annuities. And I said, okay, sir, well, we're going to stop the program right now because maybe there's other people in the room here who feel the same way. Why don't you like annuities? Why don't you just tell me and everybody else? He's like, I'm not sure why I don't like them. I just heard that they're not good. Okay.
Interesting.
So I had asked him in front of, there was probably 30, 35 people in the room. I said, sir, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a doctor, retired from Kaiser Permanente and blah, blah, blah. And I said, you would probably agree with me, sir, that, there are good doctors and bad doctors. There are good restaurants and bad restaurants. There are good attorneys and bad attorneys. There's good financial advisors and bad financial advisors. I'm here to tell you there's good annuities and bad annuities. So it's not one size fits all. It's not that it's all good or all bad. But, look, there's lots of misconceptions out there. I mean, you have a guy, Ken Fishers, who's on national television saying, I hate annuities. I'd rather die and go to hell than sell an annuity. He's talking about these high fee variable annuities. I mean, these are products that, are not even, the annuities that we're using primarily for our clients have zero fees, not high fees, but I'm talking about no fees. So we all know the only thing better than low fees is no fees.
Right.
So again, that's a misconception. And, some of the misconceptions also are, why would I buy an annuity in my IRA account when annuities are tax deferred and IRAs are already tax deferred? Okay? Well, nobody's buying an annuity in their IRA for tax deferral. They're buying an annuity in their IRA because they want protection. They want market protection. So look, there are lots of different kinds of annuities. There are your CD type annuities today that just pay a fixed rate. So people understand those very inherently, where you get a guaranteed rate for 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, no different than if you bought a CD at a bank, a certificate deposit. You can lock in a 1 year rate, a 3 year rate, or a 5 year rate. So this is like a CD with an insurance company, right? We would refer to that like as a CD annuity, right? And typically these rates are higher than the banks pay. So that's a good thing. So people understand those. Then you have what are called fixed indexed annuities. These products at their core have no fees. You can never lose any money. You get some of the market upside with none of the downside. So think about if we were playing a game of, heads or tails, okay? So let's play this game. Heads, you win. Tails, you push. So market goes up, heads, you make money. Market goes down, you push. You don't lose any money. Meaning it's the best of both worlds. You get some of the market growth with none of the downside. People like that. Where are those products used? Usually as bond alternatives. If you look at bonds today that have yields somewhere around 3 to 3.5% or so, let's just call it 3 to 4%, we expect a no-fee fixed indexed annuity to outperform bonds by somewhere between 1 and 3% a year on average with no interest rate risk, with no market risk. So again, as a bond replacement, a bond alternative, they may have a place in our client's portfolio. And then you have a new class of annuity that's been very, very popular over the past 10 years or so called a RILA, a registered index-linked annuity. People love these because everybody loves when the market's zooming up like we've been living through now recently. And these products offer people growth with protection. So think about having the S&P 500 with 20% protection on the downside, unlimited upside with no fees. Now, these products have no financial costs. The cost of these products are time, right? Annuities work, going back to my CD analogy, if you bought a 5-year CD at a bank or a 7-year CD at a bank, people inherently know that if you cash it out early, there's a penalty. Well, these products work the same way. If you bought a 5-year annuity or a 6-year annuity or a 7-year annuity or a 10-year annuity, if you cash out early, there's a penalty. So which is better? It depends. It depends on what is best for a client, their risk tolerance, what they're trying to accomplish, and of course, what their goals are.
You know, historically, we've looked at bonds as a safe investment. But I think we've seen recently that bonds can actually have just as much of a downturn in the market as a regular stock market, right?
Yeah.
And so what is it about the annuity, where it makes sense in somebody's retirement plan? What is it that provides the protection?
You know, we're talking about a fixed indexed annuity now. And let's just say hypothetically that you can tie your money to the S&P 500, which everybody loves, okay? And the maximum in any given year right now, let's just call it 9%, okay? Mm-hmm. Some of the insurance companies are a little bit higher, but let's use 9% because I always like to underpromise so we can overdeliver. So market goes up 5%, you get 5. Goes up 7, you get 7. Goes up 9, you get 9. Goes up 11, you get 9. Okay? Goes up 13, you get 9. The beauty is it now locks in that 9% gain and then can never, ever go down from there. So if you think about a fixed indexed annuity, it ratchets or locks in your gains every year like an elevator that only goes up. You can only go up, you can never go down. If the market, S&P 500 in the same example, goes down 5%, you lose nothing. Goes down 10, you lose nothing. Goes down 30%, 40%, 50%, you lose nothing. So when I say to you, and we tell our clients that this is a bond alternative, we are not expecting a fixed indexed annuity to perform like the stock market. We are expecting a fixed indexed annuity to outperform safe money, bonds, which are typically sold to be a safe alternative to the stock market. So that's the proper way of positioning a fixed indexed annuity as a bond alternative, not a stock market alternative. And when I said to you earlier, with no interest rate risk, take 2022 as an example. There was nowhere to hide financially. The S&P 500, the stock market, was down about 19%. The bond market overall was down about 11%. And why do bonds go down in value? Well, when interest rates go up, bonds go down. When interest rates go down, bonds go up. So 2022, not long ago, was a perfect example that there was nowhere to hide. Okay? So in a fixed indexed annuity, you're not going to make any money when the markets are going down, but you're not going to lose any money. And preserving principal is oftentimes more important to people than earning interest, okay? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not important for your money to make money, but I'm saying that not at the expense of losing money.
Yeah.
So people who want to just win and not lose, a fixed indexed annuity may be, an appropriate conversation.
In one of our previous episodes, you talked about a rock climber who wouldn't use ropes. It would be crazy for somebody not to do that, to have that protection against a fall. But as I was thinking through what you were just saying, I envisioned, oftentimes when you have the rope, you go through and you put these clips along your path that you're climbing in to lock in, so that once you get here and you fall, that's just where you drop to.
Precisely.
Instead of all the way down to this other clip, you're always putting in these clips to lock in your spot.
That's exactly right.
The downside to that is it takes longer. Maybe you go a little bit slower, but you never fall. Whereas if you went without those clips, yeah, you might be able to scale the rock face a little bit faster, but if you fall, it's to your death.
That's exactly right. And that is the analogy and the picture that we paint for our clients, in that, locking in your gains each year, even though it may not match what the overall market is doing, knowing that when the markets go down, all of those gains that you made can never be taken away. So if over the next 5 years, the market was up 3 and down year 2, okay, you got 3 years worth of gains that cannot be wiped out by 1 year's of market losses. You see, we talked about on a previous episode, sequence of returns risk.
Mm-hmm.
And, Wall Street, has convinced people that average rates of return are what they need to pay attention to. So if I walk you through a quick little math lesson here, if somebody has $1 million and the market goes down 50%, you tell me, how much money do they have now?
$500,000.
$500,000. If the next year the market goes up 50%, okay, they now have $750,000. What was the average rate of return on that portfolio over the past 2 years? First year you lost 50%. The next year you made 50%. Isn't the average rate of return 0%? So how does a 0% rate of return cost somebody 25% or $250,000 of their money?
Yeah.
Because when you think about financial planning, I mean, you've heard Warren Buffett say this. There's 2 rules of investing. Number 1, don't lose any money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1.
Yeah.
So again, we are not saying by any stretch of the imagination that this is something that everybody should consider as part of their portfolio. But for the more conservative investor that is more concerned about their return of their money than their return on their money, this is a more appropriate conversation to have. And again, for people who have bought these products 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 years ago, people need to break out their statements and review them, because if you bought one of these products 5, 7, 10 years ago, okay, it's like owning an iPhone 5 compared to now, what is it, iPhone 15 or 16 now, right? So the technology has gotten so much better. interest rates are much higher. So the products that were sold 5, 7, 10 years ago are so inferior to what you can now have that it's certainly worth taking a look at.
As you talk about annuities, people shouldn't listen to this and think that what you're saying is they should put all their retirement money in an
Never.
annuity if they are conservative. That's not what we're trying to suggest. What you're trying to suggest is build protection into your plan.
Listen, we use the analogy of sports, okay, and sports matter. And here we are, it's football season. And we meet so many people that come to our dinner programs, or we meet them on Zoom, wherever they are in the country. And many of the people we meet have enough money, okay, to comfortably retire and live the rest of their lives. And that's not the end of the sentence. The end of the sentence is if they don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay? So I look at people all the time in the eyes and say, you have enough money to live comfortably the rest of your lives if you don't make any mistakes. And back to the football analogy, it's football season right now. Okay? Baseball's over. The Dodgers are the World Series champions here. But now it's football season. Here we are midway through the season or so. And I say to people, okay, whoever your favorite team is. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, first, and a Phoenix Cardinals fan second. But if the Eagles, okay, are up 3 touchdowns, there's 2 minutes to go in the game, what's the game plan? You know what the game plan is? Don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
You're going to win the game, okay? And this is the same thing that we see so many people, so many of our pre-retirees and retirees putting themselves in harm's way when they've already won the proverbial game. Why would you do that? And I ask people all the time, hey, you got $2 million. I'm looking at all your statements right here. Market goes down 40%. Let's say we have another 2008. All of a sudden, your $2 million is worth $1.2 million. You've just lost $800,000. How are you going to feel about that?
Yeah, devastating.
Not good. So why are you putting yourself in harm's way if this $2 million is important for you to make sure that you and your wife, you and your spouse are going to be able to live comfortably the rest of your lives? Why are you doing that? And the reason is that, look, the stock market is driven, always has been and always will be, by 2 things and 2 things only, fear or greed, okay? And greed is what's prominent right now. Look, I understand nobody wants to leave a party when it's getting good, okay? People feel like the stock market party is going to continue until the wee hours of the morning, right? But here we are at market highs, okay? It would be no surprise, or it should be no surprise. Look, World War III could happen tomorrow morning with what's going on in Israel and Hamas and Iran and, and now this, this maniac in North Korea and Putin are, buddy-buddy with Russia and North Korea. I mean, it should be no surprise if something bad happens with our financial markets, right? So all I am saying is, and please don't get me wrong, I love the stock market. I have a lot of my own money in the stock market. I am saying better to have protection and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
Me personally, I have my best earning years ahead of me. If the market goes down 30%, it's good news for somebody like me. You know why? I like buying things at a discount. When the market goes on sale, I'm a buyer. But if you're 58, 60, 62, 67, 70, 75 years old, and all of a sudden the market goes down 30 or 40%, and you're not still earning income or have your earning years ahead of you, you may be in trouble. And this is what we're trying to protect our clients from making those what could be very devastating decisions.
So for those that are listening into this episode and maybe have some questions, they're not quite sure of what to do, what would you say to them to end out this episode?
I mean, look, we have clients all over the country, as you know. We schedule Zoom calls for our clients that are outside of the Phoenix area or the Philadelphia area. We obviously invite people to come visit with us at our office. But look, with technology today, we can meet people in the comfort of their own home via Zoom. Our website is spivakfinancial.com, SPIVAK financial.com. And that, tells the story of, climbing the mountain and coming down the mountain, and a lot of other great information on there when it comes to tax planning. And I mean, one of the things that we'll talk about in a future episode is, disinheriting the Internal Revenue Service. I can tell you how I personally feel about taxes, and I know most of my clients, if not all of them, feel the same way. We want to disinherit the Internal Revenue Service as much as legally possible. So whatever we can do, okay, to pay the absolute legal minimum due is what we are, helping our clients to do.
I love it. If you guys like this episode, just click on the subscribe button. Again, we'll have the link to spivakfinancial.com down and below in the description, whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're listening to it on your favorite podcast platform. We invite you to take time to meet with Stuart and his team and get those questions answered, because there's a lot of things that they can help you with to avoid those pitfalls. And with that, we'll see you all on the next episode.